Alrighty there, boys and girls. Today, instead of your live lesson, we're going to do what is hopefully the first of many to come, videos. So, today, you are my guinea pigs, this Algebra 2 class, and what we're going to be talking about today is factoring. Factoring, you might say. What is factoring? Well, given a quadratic equation that is in standard form, that is ax² plus bx plus c is equal to 0. That is standard form. Now, when you have this, there are many ways that they talk about in Chapter 5 to solve a problem like this. Factoring, graphing, quadratic formula, all of which work, some better than others. Quadratic formula is great, it always works. However, the easiest of method is factoring. So, I would suggest that you always try factoring first. Now, let's look at an example. Here's one problem. x² plus 6x plus 8 is equal to 0. We need to factor this problem. So, my a, or the coefficient of the leading term, is 1. There's nothing there. So this one is easy. All we need to do is look at what factors of 8 add up to 6. So what factors of my positive 8 combine or add to be a positive 6? So, our factors of 8 are such: 1 and 8, 2 and 4. Now, will any of these combine to be 6? Well, 1 plus 8 is 9, and that doesn't really work. But 2 plus 4, well, that's 6, and that's just what we want. So, all I need to do is separate this out into my x plus my 2 times my x plus my 4. And these are both positive. And they're positive because a positive 2 times a positive 4 gives me positive 8. And a positive 2 plus a positive 4 gives me a positive 6. So, this equals this. It is now factored. So, since I know that this is all equal to 0, I can now tell you that my zeros are x is equal to a negative 2 and negative 4. This is because a negative 2 plus 2 is 0. So 0 times anything is 0. Now with a negative 4 plus 4 is 0. And 0 times anything is 0. So these are my two answers. And I just dropped my cap. Let's try another, shall we? Another one like that. x² minus 14x minus 32 is equal to 0. So, in this case, we have negatives. So, we need to multiply to get to a negative 32 and add to a negative 14. So, what are my factors of 32 that are going to add to 14? Well, we have 1 and 32. That's not going to work close to 14. Okay, 2 and 16. Okay, that looks like it could get close. Now this is a negative 32. So one of these is positive and one of them is negative. The only way to multiply to get a negative is a positive and a negative. This is also negative. So when I combine these, the larger number has to be negative. This is a negative 16 and a positive 2. Negative 16 times positive 2, negative 32. negative 16 plus 2, negative 14. So, x plus 2 times x minus 16 equal to 0. So, my two answers are x is equal to negative 2 and positive 16. Now, if you wanted to check this, easily done. Take what you factored and FOIL. When you FOIL, you should get exactly what you started with. Let's do that now. So if I FOIL this, x times x is x squared. X times negative 16 is negative 16x. 2 times x is 2x. And 2 times negative 16 is negative 32. Combine my like terms, x squared minus 14x minus 32. Same thing, we did it correctly. Alrighty. Let's move on to something a little harder. Okay, so now we're going to use what's called the window method. Now this works for factoring everything. If it can be factored, you can use the window method. So, when we want to use this is when we have a coefficient on the leading term other than 1. So, what we have to do, step 1, if you're taking notes, step 1, we multiply A times C. So 2 times 12 is 24. Now we must look at what are the factors of 24 such that I get 11. So what two factors of 24 add to 11, just like we were doing before? So, we've got 1 and 24. Well, that's not going to do us much good. 2 and 12. That's not going to do us much good either, because we want to get to the odd 11. Let's see here. We could do 3 and 8. Well, 8 plus 3 is 8, 9, 10, 11, which is what we want. So there's our answer. Jolly good. So now this is why it's called the window method. We draw a window. We have a window. Now, in the top left corner, we put our first term. In the top right and the bottom left, we put these numbers, the factors we found that add to this, 3 and 8, followed by our variable. In the last box, we put in our last term, the 12. Now notice, all of these numbers are positive, so they stay positive in the box. Now we just factor the box. We factor the columns and the rows.